And I think at first I was embarrassed maybe of farming. I was embarrassed of Iowa. I was embarrassed of like this type of food. So I wasn't trying to share that at first. And so I feel like it wasn't until I kind of decided everything's gonna go in. Like it's gonna be all in if we're gonna keep doing it for a bit and kind of like one last, like let's just try everything. And so it was me just deciding I'm just gonna be real.
Kaleb!
Well, hello, you two.
Welcome back to the farm.
This is fun.
We love having you here in the summer and anytime, but especially when things are going on in the field.
I always think coming here is like the picturesque, what you want to envision on a CSA that you don't always get to experience. This you do, which is fun.
Well, thank you for saying that. We appreciate that. And we have a special connection because our mutual friends introduced us a couple years ago. And they were pulling, I think, in their ether, farmers together and bringing us to the table. And it was like fireworks. We were like, wow, this is so fun because you're a farmer and more, which we'll talk about, but in a very different part of the country.
Yes.
So there are similarities and we can share stories and we plant the same crops, but it's different timing and different soils and different climates and different customers and so many similarities, so many differences, which makes it such fun, rich conversation. So we're so excited to talk about that today with you. I think what we want to really highlight here is something that is one of the differences is that you're a fourth generation farmer and that you're on your family's farm, and that's different than me and Amanda who are not from farming families. So let's start there because in your book, There's Always Room at the Table is filled with your family lore and love and recipes. So what was it like growing up on a farm for you, and how does it inform your writing and your book and your life today?
You know, it's funny. It's one of those things when you grow up in the Midwest on a farm, you feel very just like in a weird way normal, or if not kind of, it's not what you wanted. Like I wanted the town life growing up very bad because I was in the middle of nowhere.
How far from town?
I mean, it depends what you define as a town. So like I always like, it's not like we were like Laura Ingalls in a covered wagon going out to like nowhere. But 5 minutes away was a town of, which still is 800 or 900.
Okay.
So it has a couple small things, but no grocery store or anything.
Maybe it has a stoplight in it.
No.
Oh, a stop sign.
That'd be cute. No, a stop sign has stop signs. 12 to 15 miles away is grocery stores. So it's not like awful. So to me, that was very normal, and still, actually, because I still live there, is very normal. But growing up, you wanted to be in town. That's where friends were. You could like go walk around as opposed to be in a field or whatever it is. So I took it for granted some, but we also were a very close-knit family growing up that I always loved where we lived. I never just like absolutely hated it. I didn't necessarily fall in love with all the traditional farming aspects. My family is like, so in the Midwest, normal farming is corn, soybeans, more industrial type farming. And we did that. So, tending to fields and rows of corn and beans didn't excite me in the same way it excited my dad. He loved that at his core. He felt like that was like, he loved like the idea of tending the earth and having, leaving it better than it was before. And I think was a little bit more of a forward thinker at the time for that. While he was more of a conventional farmer, he thought about it and kind of questioned some of that, I think, earlier on, which made me kind of wonder about that. But he died early in 2004 when he was 44. And so I think it kind of, I don't know, something within me made me feel like at that point when he stopped, it like made me feel like that's where he was and always would be. And so it made me feel much more rooted in at home.
Oh, interesting.
And so I felt so much more without thinking, and in some ways it probably wasn't the smart decision, that just made me say I'm going to move home after college. I just was going to, even though I did not want to farm in that way.
Right.
It's very odd. So, because I live from a town that has more normal type jobs, which is where I first worked. That's like 50-minute drive one way every day. So when I did move home, that's what I was doing, and I hated it. And
you mean when you moved home, you were on the farm?
After college, I moved home. So
What did you go to school for?
Accounting and business.
Oh.
All right. Amazing.
I come still from, I feel like, that age where if you grow up on a farm, your grandparents, your parents, is like having a college education that sounds, accounting, business is much more, especially in the 2000s, like that's what you should do. You can, farming, has a uncertainty, or if you don't want to be one, like I didn't necessarily in that way, it's like do something that as a degree that you can do something with. And everyone was like, oh, business, you're creative, you can just do something. And it's like, you can if you know what you want that to be, and I didn't. So I moved home when I was an accountant, driving, 15 minutes about one way, and I hated it. And so through that, Wise Guide kind of slowly came out of it over the years with full-time jobs and kind of starting to do that. But what I realized I did love was all the things I learned growing up that I had kind of privilege to know and learn from my grandparents and my parents, which was gardening and those aspects.
Did it take kind of getting off the farm to realize how much you knew in that way, of maybe how different that upbringing was than some of your, than your college friends?
Yeah, that's interesting. So what's weird too about me, so I have Mennonite heritage. So for me, I've kind of always lived in a bubble of...
people.
No, I will also say Mennonite is such a broad spectrum, right?
It is.
So we would be the ones...
Some work hard and others work harder.
But we also be the ones that no relation necessarily to Amish or covered way, like buggy or anything like that. It was much more just, our heritage, we're Anabaptist, the church we went to was, but we do still have that aspect of like farming, working hard on the farm, being all close knit. And the college I went to was Mennonite, the high school I went to was Mennonite. So I don't feel like I got out of that bubble necessarily super quick. It wasn't really until I feel like I started working at a more conventional job that something just was never, it's like inside never felt right. Like I was just like, this is not me. And yet it was that you needed it, you need a job. And like what had happened was right after school, my grandparents had always lived about 1/8 of a mile across the road from where I grew up, which is the generational farmhouse. And so they happened to be moving out and said, if you want to live here, no forcing at all, but this is the time that the house would be available. So I purchased it, which now would be like, why did I do that? But now in 2020, like hindsight, it's wonderful. But what that did was give me a place to start being able to do those things I loved. And without thinking, I just started doing all that, having a big vegetable garden, having all the things I loved. And so it was more like, that's how it came out that like, I just did it second nature.
Yes.
And realized I liked it.
Yes.
It wasn't that I was being told I had to do it like growing up the chores or anything like that.
Doing
I
it by
wanted
choice,
to.
yeah.
Yeah.
And you and that property had pretty much a blank canvas,
Yeah.
or had there already been gardens that had been developed for generations?
Grandma always said, so my mom still lives in the generational farmhouse that great-grandma, grandpa, mom and dad, when they took over the farm, lived in. Where I did, there was always a working farm, so there was always like a vegetable garden in one spot, like in the ground, a normal just in-ground garden. But other than that, I love landscaping too. I love that type of gardening. There was none really of that. That wasn't as much what my grandma loved to do. So I count that all, anything that was there other than established trees, I over time took out and had mostly a blank slate anyway to start with. So yeah, I've kind of been able to, it kind of was my own school, and then it became kind of like my playground for a while. Now it's kind of become more of my passion. So it kind of had this progression of being able to use the space in the way I wanted to a little bit.
That's so cool that you were able to make it your own over time.
Yeah.
Did you set out with a particular master plan of here's what I'm envisioning?
No, because I'm not trained in like landscape design or like spatial like architecture, and I feel like it's changed a lot. Just like the environment from what I thought it was growing up even has changed, or how I understand it. So moving in, for some reason, I thought, oh, I'm inspired by like English gardens or French gardens and clipped topiary hedges, and it can be pretty harsh elements in Iowa. It can get pretty dry and droughts. And so after trying certain things like that and realizing, one, just the labor, but two, the stress it can have on things, I have really switched much more into kind of, big perennial borders that are all drought tolerant and closer to natives and pollinator loving and easier to care for, big beautiful borders that you can I do a lot of chop and drop. It's like where I just let it go over the winter and then can just take a push mower.
I love that, chop and drop.
Yeah.
I haven't heard that term before.
Oh, it's a thing, I think. I don't think I made that up. It's like I take a push mower with a mulching attachment so it doesn't push it out. And so all the perennial beds that I can do that to, just have that go over it in the spring, mulches it all up, drops it, and so it just leaves it and builds that soil year after year. So instead of me taking it all away, composting it, adding compost, all that kind of thing.
Right.
So that's what I do to a lot of just really, which was not how I started at all.
Well, there's something, I think that Katie and I, have that in common with you, that we started out, when we started Amber Waves, we started out, we were so young, that we were still so young.
We're still babies, so just like say it.
So yeah. But this being able to just answer, to have your project or the thing that you're doing just kind of naturally evolve without really like an eyes on the specific horizon is such an extraordinary place to create from, because you can kind of provide answers to what's coming from you from the from the soil. It enables you, from your seasons, and enables you to to play and make mistakes and then kind of build something. I think that what we've done here is just we started really small, and then the community asked us for something, and then we did it, and then we needed help, and then we started an apprenticeship program, and then we've just kind of meandered through. And it sounds like
a true entrepreneur is what you were, really, when you think about it.
Of just like responding to whatever,
learning as you go.
Right, exactly, which is so fun. We're all very fortunate that we get to do that. Our life's work is also the thing that is our living.
Well, it's like what you see every day. Yeah. I mean, which is kind of not what we all expect in that way. I always think like conventional jobs, and maybe this is why I wasn't fed by one where you go to like a 9 to 5 that is just something you're doing for someone. It's such a different aspect, I think, inside that like there's something about seeing your work and seeing people. Like here, you get people. Like mine, I don't always get to see the people on a daily like visual basis. Mm-hmm. Here you see it, which I would think would be really fulfilling.
It is such that you can watch somebody experience what you've grown.
That's cool.
And how they interact with it. And how, I mean, we're sitting here in the pick your own flower field.
Right.
So it's all ages.
Right.
Everybody's having their moment of creativity or zen, and you can just watch people immerse themselves in something that you planned and you planted, and now it's growing and thriving, and people are having a ball with it.
Right, that's amazing.
So that's fun. So that is a little bit different than because you don't have a public-facing community farm like we do. We're welcoming visitors onto the farm all the time. Because your millions...
Not million. I'm across. Okay.
Okay. Well,
you're
I'm
being
just,
generous.
Okay,
But it's across
I'm not
channels
being
if you add
generous.
it together.
I've seen the numbers, but it's a lot of people that you have across a variety of channels that are learning from you, not in a in-person kind of hands-on way like they are here. So, what is that experience like, where you are having this connection, this deep connection with people? Amanda and I are always saying that, well, let's just hold with food for a minute. Food is so deeply personal, and it comes with so many memories and history and heritage and knowledge. And that's, I think, why your book is so successful and why you just are engrossed in it, because you're immediately in your family's kitchen, which is just...
I love that.
It just feels like I authentically know you through this book, and that really comes through. So, but then you're also doing that through your day-to-day existence. So what is that like? That's something that Amanda and I have in-person conversations with, but you're speaking to an audience through technology and different channels.
It's something I would have never said I was like a teaching type personality. And I would have never said...
And yet.
I know. But I think like what it is, I think when I started, for one, this has had a lot of iterations of me having to learn what I was going to even do. So we started in 2012. It really didn't, I don't think, take what it is today until like 2019, 2020, honestly. And it's because I think I was just jumping into something not knowing what I wanted to do, knowing I wanted maybe a creative outlet. But it was over those years I feel like I had to hone in, one, on my voice, one, on kind of taking off all those barriers of how it's hard to be yourself and present something online to people who don't know you, who can just say whatever they want. And I think at first I was embarrassed maybe of farming, I was embarrassed of Iowa, I was embarrassed of like this type of food. So I wasn't trying to share that at first, I was trying to hide a lot. And so I feel like it wasn't until I kind of decided, it was kind of at a crossroads of, this has been a lot of years of passion with no type of fruition. And still full-time jobs outside of it. And it was just kind of getting maybe to a burnout point, which can still happen. And it was kind of like everything's gonna go in. Like it's gonna be all in if we're gonna keep doing it for a bit, and kind of like one last, like let's just try everything. And so it was me just deciding, I'm just gonna be real. I'm gonna show you all the nitty gritty. I'm gonna show you the garden when I feel like I look gross. I'm gonna show you the things I'm actually preserving, which I hadn't really done, because I was like, I don't know, you feel like, is everyone gonna think I'm just a grandma in a kitchen canning peaches? Like all those things. But then I realized what you literally talked about was it hit on everyone instantly saying, I saw my grandma always doing that and I never asked how. Or I saw when I visited a farm in my family years ago, they would do that. And I always wondered what that would be like, and now I want to try it. And so it was through that I feel like I then became a little bit more invigorated of, oh, there's a place for this. Because it's easy to feel in life like there's not a place for maybe our dreams or passions, because they feel not special, or maybe where we're living doesn't feel special. And so I think it took me a long time to know what that could be. I think that's still something I try to understand, because people feel like they know me really well. Because I share a lot. I share like daily things about my life. I can be in my home, I can be in my garden, and they see me and I don't see them. I hear from them through messages. So like when I do meet them, they know so much about me. And that takes me back at first. I'm like, oh, you follow, but it's such a special, usually, relationship with them. I just kind of have to catch up to where they are first.
Right.
And be like,
yeah, there's this sense, I'm sure, of intimacy that they have with you.
Very much so, which is great. It just wasn't expected.
Yeah, because you're just kind of in there, they're maybe like under their covers in the morning looking at their phone, and it's
Literally,
you in bed with them.
Like,
talking to them.
That's exactly what it is. And they're telling they'll tell me, like, I watch you every night in bed, and I tell my husband, or he'll say, oh, what's Kaleb doing? I'll be like, wow, that's
what an honor.
Pillow talk,
like, but that's what's special in a way about what we can do now, whether it's like in person, like this is like active, tangible things, but in a way that's the way to do it. I feel like I'm as close as you can get to that through online or content, because I've never liked the idea of just making content for no reason. I've never liked the idea of putting something out that's just kind of just funny or just pointless to try to gain kind of like eyes on me. I wanted to have like a reason. So my whole goal anytime I do something is that I want it to be some version of a guide, hence Wise Guide. But like, whether that's a recipe, whether that's me in the garden, hopefully guiding something. And so I think as long as that guides me, even in what I share, I feel that connection with them, because I think, what's the takeaway? Like, what would I be learning from this? So it's never been about in my head, me teaching. It's just been me explaining what I'm doing. Because as you know, with gardening, you can have all the, I don't even know what expert knowledge is, but you can have all the like knowledge you want, and it's going to constantly change. So it's more me saying, this is my take on it. This is how I do it. May not be what someone else says, and that's okay. But my Zone 5B garden could be very different from the next one. So maybe you'll learn something in mine. Your Zone 5B might be different, but that's the best part. How else do we know?
Right.
Because I still kill things.
As do we. It's really, and once you get to a certain level, certainly, you when you have a base level of knowledge, it really is, you're just kind of picking what someone described to me once as jewels of knowledge. Anytime you go to a conference or you're listening to someone speak, you're saying like, okay, well, Kaleb's setup is not going to be the exact same as mine, but what are the pieces here that might apply to something that I could do? And you're kind of, what a wonderful thing to be able to cherry pick. I was going to ask you what zone you are.
5B.
Of 5B.
Yeah.
So what's your, so when we talk about zones, these are the USDA growing zones that are, it's kind of
changing, ever changing
because of climate change and kind of nerdy farmer talk of, well, what zone are you in?
Right. But it's interesting because you want to like, wait, what can you grow?
Exactly.
You can grow.
And so just because, so you're in 5B, but there are 5Bs all over the country.
Right. In places that don't make sense.
Right. There's so 5Bs in the state of Maine and in the state of New York and the state of Vermont. We are a
7B.
We're 7B, but when we started, we were in the 6s. Were we 6A or B when
6A.
We started?
A, B, A.
Have your zones changed since you started?
They have.
You in the
so
4s?
When I was young, we were a 4. Growing up, I always would have said we were a 4. Now, granted, we probably weren't planting like I like to plant now, where I think about each plant very specifically, but we always said zone 4. Now, I would say when I came back from college, I then already was like, oh, I'm a zone 5. Not really paying too much attention between A and B, because I was still mostly planting for a 4 in my head, because that's how I grew up. And now we're definitely, though I feel the 5B, because we're
Solidly
so close
5B.
to a 6. Like it on this new map came so close that I was, our summers, I think within those zones, there's so many like microclimates and drastic differences, but the summers can be a zone 7. I feel like we can have such different extremes, and then the winters can be so cold.
Right. So, for people listening, when we think about the zones, the lower the number, the more the colder it is. And so a Mediterranean climate is in the 8s and 9s, where you can grow olives and wine better. I mean, grown wine certainly in colder zones. And so us being a 7, what that means is that our last frost date in the spring is going to be much sooner than yours. So we're finishing having frosts much earlier than you are, and then our first frost date in the fall is going to be much later than yours. So it means our growing season is considerably longer than yours.
What is your last frost date? I'm confused. I would love to know.
Well, that's the other thing, is that
it's
because you can have them random.
Now. Well, it's into December.
But I'm not sure that well, we should look to see what they say it is. Often we don't have a frost.
It's like a 10-year average, I think they run on when they tell you they're I think.
So, the average last frost date in the spring is maybe May 1st or something, but a couple years ago we had a weird one a couple days before Memorial Day weekend, so the 4th week in May, and
which
we
is funny because
things.
ours used to be May 12. I think this year's now technically like late April, May.
Yeah.
But that's what I'm saying. Like zones don't always match up exactly with the dates either.
Right.
Like you have to really. Yeah.
And like what's our coldest winter temperatures? Like we're tempered by the ocean, so
right. Yeah,
we're never getting as hot in the summer as you are, and also never getting as cold in the winter as you are.
Yeah.
So, so that's dictating for us which things we can treat as perennials and which things we have to replant as annuals. And how basically hardiness. That's what we're.
You would have a lot of herbs
about.
You could keep, right?
Yes. And more so now actually than when we first started. It was harder to overwinter rosemary and lavender when we started than it is now. Now you
could almost overwinter dahlias, right? If you would kind of mulch them heavily.
If you mulch them, you absolutely
could.
Yeah, okay. we pull them out. We pull them out, but in 5 or 7 years, I wonder how we'll be thinking about it.
And home gardeners are telling me that they're leaving them in.
Especially if they're protected probably or up against the house. That makes a huge difference.
Yeah, so they're leaving them in and they're overwintering and it's no problem, which is significant.
I was going to say, there's little silver linings.
So when we're thinking about these zone changes, as it's gotten warmer, you'd think objectively, oh, well, your season's longer, so that's nice. But the thing, at least for us here, that has happened is that pests and diseases that would typically winter kill, maybe aren't winter killing if the winter isn't harsh enough, and they're blowing up here from the south, blowing up the East Coast sooner than they otherwise would have. And so we're seeing pests and disease here that we haven't seen before, which makes growing organically really challenging because we're confronting new pest pressure that we didn't used to have. So
that's exactly like at home. We have pest things. I mean, just in the last 5 to 6 years, we went from Japanese beetles kind of being heard of to the month of July, I will have oak trees almost whittled down to skeleton leaves. Ugh. They go now on everything from asparagus, which it doesn't usually kill them, but it really makes it hard to manage on certain things, especially if they're young, because it will stress them a lot more than if it's an established whatever, because it's every year seems to be a new plant they love. So there's so many things like
broadening their appetite. They're like, there's always room at the table. Here we are.
For beetles, for everything.
So what are you doing about that, for example?
I have not found a great thing. I have tried everything. Because what's hard is, even within any organic option, there's cons of a lot of them.
Absolutely.
Things aren't selective even in the organic world if you're going to do neem or if you're going to do other things. And so then you have to have this kind of like moment in your mind of like, what's worth it? When it comes to Japanese beetles, for me, it's like they don't actually kill or do anything other than me not liking the look of something.
Right.
So I usually kind of just like, if it comes to a fruit tree, them eating the fruit, then I'm like, okay. That's where I kind of make those decisions. If it's a rose bush, just
take it.
Take it all. It's fine.
It's a tricky thing for us when we struggle with this, because I think people, I kind of joke that people want to live in Candyland.
Yeah.
They want food to be organic and fair and cheap and also perfect.
Yes, look like a grocery store.
Look perfect. And so that's one of the challenges. I think one of the things actually about the community supported agriculture, the CSA model, that's fun for us is because we're talking to each one of our members individually. If something is looking a little weird, or there are some holes in something, or something is misshapen,
you can
like the
explain
Swiss
it.
chart's not perfect. Like somebody was having a snack earlier,
right?
And let's talk about
and it wasn't
But
Katie.
why would we throw it out? That's the fun.
Right, and then also confronting food waste of things that aren't perfect.
Yeah.
So it's real. It's difficult to manage. But I think within the the world of organics, it would be so hard to manage yourself as an eater if you didn't have the background grower knowledge that we have, because the labeling is so complicated. Because just because we practice farming organically, but we're still using we're using certified organic crop protectants, but they are chemicals.
Absolutely.
And that's so the difference between something that's conventional chemical and organic compound or no spray entirely, it's complicated out there. And you might have something that's been grown conventionally, meaning maybe not organic fertilizer, but then hasn't been sprayed. And so as a consumer,
what does that mean?
So confusing.
Right.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, horticultural vinegar is a great thing for like weeds, or it can be, but it's also, you have to remember what it is. It is a chemical in a way too. So it's all those things that nothing is the perfect answer. And I think the biggest thing is always knowing nothing should ever look perfect. Like perfection is just not, like that's actually one of the things like
Except
you enjoy telling people.
Honestly, which is
like some of it, do you net it?
No.
Wow.
We
lucky
do.
You.
Do you mean like insect exclusion netting?
Not even just for that. Just for it to. I have to net mine just to keep it looking nice, so it's not like marred by either extra wind or whatever it is, or like dirt and grass whatever it is. So I just net mine more for that. I don't usually get huge bug issues with lettuce, but.
Yeah, we are, that is unnetted. We do have insect exclusion netting on some crops out there. But not these
like
ones.
Your brassicas? Do you have to or do you?
Playing around with it on brassicas. Well, we use a lot of a floating row cover in the spring, of breme for pest exclusion, but then also to keep the temperatures a little bit warmer.
Yeah.
I think one thing that I'll say about food being perfect, if you're thinking about food waste, if you find yourself in the grocery store, and I do this in the seasons where it's trimmer from the farm, and I find myself in the grocery store actually buying vegetables, which isn't my favorite, but doing it, always looking for not the one that is the perfect best. I think I love that. As a consumer, you can really control food waste. If you choose the thing that isn't perfect.
That's
the perfect
been left
one,
there.
The perfect one will sell. I'm not saying you have to buy rotten things. Something's a little misshapen, looks a little weird, take that one home. Because someone else won't, and then otherwise it's just going to get thrown out.
Sometimes even just the last one of something, just because it doesn't look as full and beautiful, you're not as apt to take it. No, that's actually the best. That's actually a really good advice.
Yeah, it's one of the reasons that the CSA boxes are that it's fun to do, because every box is its individual box. So for example, that this person is getting 2 red onions that are that size, and maybe the next person in the next box is having one huge one. And as long as you kind of do massing, and if they're all misshapen but they're all together in a group, your eye
it's still
okay
full
with
and
it.
bountiful and
so
beautiful.
That's some nice balance. I think it's one of the reasons one of the ways in which we're able to avoid food waste is saying, okay, well, these things are a little bit funny, but the quality is great. They're going to CSA. These ones that are perfect are going to hit the retail floor. These ones that are huge and misshapen are going to go to our kitchen. So we have this.
That's true. You have all aspects you can
luxury.
use. That's really nice.
There's a place for a weird zucchini or a cucumber, no problem. It will never sell in the store, no problem. Just go straight to our kitchen.
That's really fun.
So it means also that for our sorting, when things are coming out of the field, that it's like kitchen bin, retail bin, CSA bin, food pantry bin, like all these different bins of everything, trying not to be
like
chaotic.
A, B, and C
sorting
almost.
And where you're going, everything has its place.
And they're all of good quality. It's true. It's the appearance. It's just aesthetics.
No, I get that. So, hey, that's how we first usually are by visuals.
Absolutely.
So
right, and we're trained to be looking for a specific shape or a specific type of.
So what you're visiting, but when you go home, what is going to be thriving in your garden?
So right now is the beginning of tomatoes. So I usually get mine in the ground if I don't want to worry about anything like early May, like the second week of May, I'll put them in. So same with peppers. So that's like right now when I get home, what I'll be able to start really picking. I keep my broccoli plants. So I picked all my brassicas. I have 1 maybe or 2 head of cabbage left, but all my broccoli heads and cauliflower are picked, but so I would leave my broccoli plants to get the florets all throughout the season. So those the side shoots, and they as long as the plant doesn't rot from a center hole or something, which can happen, I will get that the rest of the season. But tomatoes now, and I'll have okra really soon. I'll have beans. They were starting when I was leaving.
What kind of beans?
Green beans, just string beans, And I was
fresh beans. We were talking about
fresh
this
beans. I love. So I always plant jade is the variety. Jade bean.
Yeah,
it's what we grew up with. It's the best one for
beautiful.
me. It cans well, it freezes well, and it pickles well, which I really like.
Do you do dilly beans?
It's my favorite. I actually don't can beans anymore because I love them fresh. I can like them frozen. Canned beans, I'm just tired of from growing up. We had so many of them.
Because of textural thing?
Just texture. They get a little soft. You have to pressure them. They're low acid, so you have to pressure them because if you water bath them, it would be like an hour and a half, I think. And so just no. Even pressuring those too much, but dilly beans, oh my goodness, that crunch and that crisp and just so good.
Are you eating them at
I think I have a quick pickle in here actually for those. Now that I'm thinking about it, I think I do.
I was just gonna say, are you
quick pickles or so? Yeah.
I was like, how
much?
That's
the way to go.
Yeah.
Right. How much of them are you actually putting up, actually shelf stable?
I do a lot.
Or are you just kind of I find that, we do a lot of this in our kitchen now that we're selling things so quickly that it ends up being we're not even bothering to can them. We're just doing.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Kind of quick pickles and just
fresh is wonderful.
Those,
I think it's more for me fridge space at home.
Yeah.
I definitely do some. We have this one family one that's not in here, but it's called a mustard pickle. It's a 9-day crock pickle.
Oh, fun.
It's a weird convergence of a true fermented pickle and a not, it's putting, because it has some vinegar, which is not what you usually do to ferment, but you do it still in a crock for 9 days, and it has a lot of mustard powder and pickling spice. and they're so good. So that one is one that you have to keep in the fridge then.
Yeah.
And so my fridge fills up with certain things I do, but I still can a lot of them.
Yeah.
So I do a lot of shelf stable. I love the process of canning. I think when it, like, you know, growing up, mom did it obviously to like save money, for sustainability. And I think sometimes certain things now I'm like, well, I don't need to do, you know, the 30 to 60 quart of beans or the how many things. So like, I'll do some things I enjoy and have fun with and not feel too overburdened by, because canning can feel a lot.
It's a
you know?
lot.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously it takes over, you know, it takes over your whole kitchen. People are so afraid of poisoning themselves.
Oh, I know. Which honestly is so much harder. I mean, like, canning, if you follow those though, like, that's what I love doing about videos on those, because to me it's like, if you follow like USDA guidelines, it is such a not scary process, especially if you start with pickling.
Right. Yes. Right. Because
high vinegar or high sugar, so do jam, but I love jam.
Yeah.
That just makes me happy. But anyway, quick pickles.
So can you describe what you mean by quick pickles? Look how beautiful this photograph is. So we're talking about beans, cucumbers, carrots.
I love carrots.
And then this is
Giardiniera.
Okay.
Which like more Midwest.
I forgot about that.
Really? You guys need to come back to the Midwest. It's kind of more of a Chicago like staple, but
I learned about it from you. I completely forgot about
serious?
that. Yeah.
Oh, I love that. It's really good actually to throw in with like a roast with that brine, because you can do it in a slow cooker and you'll get this like Italian kind of pulled meat sandwich that you can just put on like a hoagie bun. And then anyway, it's a mixture of like spices, all quick pickles. I grew up calling them fridge pickles. It actually wasn't until I feel like more like recent trends. It's like quick pickle just sounds more, I think, catchy.
And even quickle.
That's true too. And so like I have to like train myself to say quick pickle. But really what the thing is, the ratio of vinegar and water, sugar, salt is the same pretty much on every one. It's the spices you can change up and the herbs and the actual vegetable, which is what makes it fun. It's a very easy thing to play with and dip your toes in preserving without feeling overly scared or worried, because you're really just doing it, pouring it over the vegetable, putting it in the fridge, and in like a day, you want to let them sit a little bit, but then a day or two just like eating them. And so you get the crisp texture, you don't have to worry about the cooking, all of it's always wonderful. I love them.
And then are you eating this like as snacks, or are you pairing this back into dishes? I mean, here you said
I was gonna say, this one to me, Giardiniera is usually a little bit more, not quite condiment, but slightly more used like that.
Will you just tell, since not everyone is looking at this picture, will you just tell us remind us what's in that?
So Giardiniera can be a mix for different people of different things. Mine has some cauliflower, some carrots, some red pepper, some garlic, some onion, and with it, it's like the mixture of spices, which let me see again, which all of them in here, which to me is like the best. So like this one's gonna have a lot more like forward flavor with, I should make this again when I get home, with the oregano, pepper flake, black peppercorn. I don't have red peppers yet, but I will when I get home. And then what it gets is slight spice, slight tang, just a little balance from the sweet, which I do think, I went through a stage of never wanting sugar in anything, like added, and then realizing I was missing out on like actual balanced flavor of things, which a quick pickle needs.
Yeah.
Like you get that high ratio of vinegar, you want just a little bit of that sugar, and it's a small amount, that it really does kind of temper it, and it plays with it just enough to make it just like perfect every time.
It matters a lot. I
really
recently
does.
just did a quick pickled onion.
Oh, yeah.
Without the balanced flavor of the sugar, and it's too sharp.
Yeah, a little stringent almost.
Stringent is the right word to describe it. And so I did a second batch with my mom, who was visiting, who does make them at home in her kitchen and has just the recipe memory. I mean, recipe is like,
of course.
She's like, what do you mean recipe?
Right.
Just like
you hardly
bing
need
bang
one.
around. And she's like, where's your sugar? And I was like, oh, that's why it's better.
Yeah, I
And
know,
I
right?
rarely say that. I don't like to say it, but it's true. It's the balance of flavor. So.
I know, it really is. I think that's in general with pickling. That's like the essential component. Is like getting that. That's why usually if you are trying it for the first time, you shouldn't just like make up something, because those ratios do make a difference. Too much vinegar to too little isn't great. Even with a quick pickle, it's not that it's a safety thing. Even with a quick pickle, it's just like that flavor matters and how it's working with the vegetable. And then this is just like the beginning, because then you can get into lacto fermentation. You can get into preserving and shelf stable things. Like you can just start like kind of going through it, and it's like sauerkraut. I love making sauerkraut.
Yeah.
And that's more like lacto fermentation, but.
And this is the gateway.
It really is. Well, if you like pickles,
point. Yeah.
this is like such a quick, like making your own, especially it's a great way to use up something you're like, I'm not getting this used. It's maybe going to go bad in a couple days. pickle it. And that can be anything. It can be even down to your zucchini, to your beets, which you
I'm
cook
looking,
first.
I know.
but-
I know. Like,
Saying
what
onions,
can you
beets,
pickle the
zucchini,
box?
yeah.
Right.
I mean,
Why
would you
couldn't you
pickle
do the
these
ribs,
chard
right?
stems,
I know.
Yeah.
I
That
totally
would be
think you
really
could.
fun.
And like those, though, then you might find that you're going to use them more as a condiment almost after they're pickled, as opposed to just like eating one, but like
Yeah.
chopped up with something as like a, I don't know. I think that's the fun part.
Yeah, as it's some texture and like
Yeah, and like that
adding
bright
something
pop.
punchy.
And I think it's something that you can do. I mean, well, we just saw my daughter walked up with a jar of pickles. They just make quick pickles in our outdoor
Right,
classroom
right.
here, but it's something that's really accessible
Right.
to any age.
Oh, it is. And I
so
think,
it's something, an activity
especially,
you
like,
can do with your children.
Kids learning at that age, like how wonderful is that? Because you're going to be so much more apt to love them.
Yes. Yes.
Like that's the best part, which
Right.
I always loved pickles, but
And when we say pickles, I notice that my girls are immediately thinking always of cucumber
cucumbers,
pickles.
right.
Yeah.
But this broadens the aperture
Yeah.
for them to think of, well, pickle it like you'd pickle anything.
Right.
Pickle the rib, pickle the beet,
Yeah.
pickle the vegetable.
Yeah.
To have a different experience with it. So
no, I agree.
So that's also a fun take on an entry point into the kitchen for kids to learn how to cook.
I agree.
Okay, when I was looking through your book, I honed in on this recipe that was a dip. Okay, so Amanda, I don't know if you know this about Amanda, but Amanda loves condiments. Condiment queen.
Sauce,
Yeah.
dip, anything
Sauces, dips,
spread.
yeah.
I-
Sauces, dips, and
They
spreadables.
change. They make it for me.
I have a friend that doesn't like that, or sauces, and I was just like, no.
How,
like,
but how do you deal with your dry
right?
food all the time?
Or just like the flavor pop you want, or like it just adds so much to life. Like a quick pickle. I love to dip it still. Like if it's like a carrot stick that's been pickled, I still want to dip it.
yeah, there's such a fun thing about dipping a vegetable in another vegetable.
Right? It's like, yum.
Double down on your veg.
Yeah.
Like get it in a solid form, get it in a spreadable form.
Yeah, I mean,
it's
if
a
you're-
good idea.
No, it
That's
is,
why I
yeah.
wanted to
if you're
talk
dipping
about
a
this.
carrot in guacamole, you're like, you're dipping a vegetable in a fruit.
Well, and then you're getting your balance of like the sugar carb of a carrot and the good fat of an avocado, and you're like, that's like what, blood sugar balance? I think. Yeah, I think that's the thing.
Yeah, no,
That's
it's
winning.
yeah, it's
It's
yeah,
like something
it's
in life
science.
that's good. I think.
Yeah,
It's better than a tortilla chip for
Right.
you,
Which
Yeah.
is still good though.
and when you're really yes, yeah, of course,
obviously.
yeah. Had to get your plug in there for corn.
Yeah, please. Oh, that's so true. I didn't think about that.
You're
Yes,
like-
everyone eat tortilla chips. Yes, please.
We got to keep. Yeah, we
I
got to
don't
keep.
think that industry is hurting at all, by the way. Tortilla chips, I think, are doing fine. But this is, though. I love that
Okay,
one.
so let's talk about this
Yeah.
recipe. It's a roasted zucchini,
Mm-hmm.
dill, and feta dip. And okay, so is this a family recipe?
No, this
is
purely
something-
came out
this
of having too much zucchini.
Which is a thing.
Here
It
we
is.
are.
Yeah.
We
Well,
are in. 'Tis the season.
It's a good thing. It's just
Yeah.
it can get to be an overwhelming thing. And so I think it was a year where I was just so tired of whatever I did with it that I just started grilling or roasting it at super high temperature until it was almost just charred black. Because zucchini, if you don't do something good to it, can just kind of be flat. I mean, if you can shred it and put it in a cake, fine. But like, if you want to do something, and so it added like that flavor from either the grill or just at least being roasted. But then when you blend it with all these things, it has like the freshness of summer. I use it mostly as a dip, but I have used it as many other things, whether it's even a spread on a sandwich, whether it's like kind of thinned down even, like you'd have to thin it quite a bit, but to a dressing, I've done that. Like you can do so many things with it, and I personally am a dill lover, so if you're not, you could totally switch out for like tarragon or something. But I love that it has just like the right amount, like a little bit tahini, not to make it a hummus. Like obviously it doesn't have the chickpeas or anything, but it does have kind of like a little bit of that richness that I feel like is needed, just to kind of add that undertone. And then like Greek yogurt, and it becomes like such a happy little spot for me.
It's yeah.
I haven't made it yet this year because I haven't had zucchini yet.
Okay. I'm gonna make it at home tonight, and I was intending to make it last night so we could talk about it and
It's good.
be tasting it. But it's a really creative way to have a vegetable dip this time of year.
Well, and I'm someone that if I have something in my fridge like this, I will eat so much more of like just something that I even want to, like, you know, you have stuff going bad in your fridge where there's cauliflower or broccoli.
You're absolutely right. Of being
It helps you
Yeah.
get through the veg because you have a dip.
Yeah, it just
Yeah.
when you're looking in your fridge, it's like what is accessible. And
Right?
at those moments when you're so hungry and you're like, what is easy?
Right, when you want tortilla chips.
Exactly. And if you can make it, if you can make vegetable consumption just be a little easier,
Yeah.
you just will eat more of that.
And this just, having it ready just to me is always just like, oh, that's so easy to pull out and enjoy.
Yeah.
Because it holds well.
I love it. So good. So Amanda and I are talking a lot about why it matters what we're doing right now in this moment. Teaching people, maybe even a new generation about food. Maybe they're learning to cook for the first time, or from the food policy lens,
Right.
or you're in the middle of corn country,
Yep.
Industrial scale agriculture, and so we have our unique positions in this, and it's going to take all of us to be talking about food in real talk kind of way like this. But what do you think right now, like in this coming year, you have a book that's out and you're working on your second book, and you have this moment to share with people your passion, your love, your creativity. How are you going to fuse your life and your audience's interest and the importance of the moment right now of like, gosh, what I'm doing really matters, and what is there to say to bring people into the fold?
That's interesting. I think for me, it's always been doing it as a way that isn't, I'm not trying to reinvent a wheel. I think that's the thing for me. It's like, I'm not trying to be like a trend of the moment. I'm not trying to like act like growing vegetables is such a new thing. It's like, it's more the idea that this can be something that just becomes kind of more part of your life. Like, it's not the idea that like, it has to feel like, I always tell people like when they're getting into gardening, like if they're new to it or haven't done it, start with something you love. Maybe you love going and getting lettuce somewhere. Maybe you love radishes in the spring. Maybe you love beets. Not as many people are gonna say that. Maybe I do. Maybe you love tomatoes, but start with something you love. Don't overwhelm yourself with everything, which I feel like in the food space in general is what I'm always reminding myself. Like, don't get overwhelmed with feeling like you need to be everything everywhere. I don't mind staying kind of in what I know. Like, I don't feel like I need to, hopefully, branch out in a way that's like, doing something I've never done, or like trying to act like, oh, this vegetable I'm gonna do is brand new. And it's like, no, I just wanna show you the things that I know, that I love, that have been passed on to me. And sometimes I worry, is like, is my year to year of what I share too much of a routine? But then I'm like, but I love that that's what gardening is. It's the environment
cycles,
might change that year. It might be a drought, might be rain. But the wonderful part of it is there's this kind of nostalgic continuity of knowing this is coming again, or we're preparing for, like, planting garlic in the fall was when I planted. You're doing it for the next year, so you're always kind of having one foot in the garden, even on those times off. And I like to think that's what I'm sharing to people, is just kind of always, maybe I'm that person that I'm their foot in the garden for them, even if it's not growing it for them.
You're so right. It really anchors you, like the cyclical nature of the seasons, it really anchors you in where you are and in your place. And it's why, so even there's a quote that you have somewhere about, not that I'm gonna, I'll butcher it, but something about like, you don't have to live on you don't have to live on a farm to do this authentically. You just have to pay attention to the season you're in. And the thing about we're so fortunate, although kind of, most people have the ability to join us, is eating with the seasons. It's just so exciting to welcome back zucchini or to welcome back tomatoes as like an old friend that you haven't seen since last year, and then to get excited for the next thing and to really lean into that part. The same way that we do, with Halloween and Christmas lights.
But you know what's nice about this is in the gardening or this space is that it's not that way of commercializing something. You know what I mean? Like, this is a space you don't feel bad saying, hey, remember, it's time to plant your zucchini.
Yes. Oh, exactly. Yes,
like, that's
exactly.
what I like about it, though.
Yeah.
Like, you get that same idea because we love that continuity of Christmas. Hello. I get excited. But this is like giving people that, because it does sometimes just calm the year sometimes. To be like, I'm going to go plant my seed for a radish.
It's very centering, and when there are rules out there that the radish is going to it's a 28-day situation. If it's colder, it's
I love that you threw out the days. Good job to you. That's good. Yeah.
It's going to be a little longer in the spring,
right? And
then it's going to be a perfect 28, and then it's going to be longer again, and that just is what it is. And so there is kind of that like solace in the expectation of
that's a good way to put it.
It is that things are moving at the exact pace that they're moving. And of course, we are all doing little tricks to try to speed things up or slow them down by, introducing shade cover or planting things in mulch that, in black mulch that, warms the soil. So we're speeding it up. So, but That you can
adapting.
Only, yeah, but like, you know, a few degrees of speed up. It's still
changes though. It does.
Yes, but it's like it's taking its time, and
Right.
it's fun to kind of follow those cycles.
Well, it's kind of fun that you can't you can't change it always exactly to what we want. We can want to, we can try, but it's still Mother Nature's gonna take over. Like I always tell people, like, you can put your tomato in really early, or as early as you think you can. Maybe that for me is like May 1st, which is pretty
For us,
early.
it's April 29th. That's like
Okay.
that's the day that we do it.
Or
that's pushing
some people,
it.
if they want to, wait till summer solstice where I live.
Yeah.
It's still going to give you tomatoes at most likely not that far behind when I would have planted. Like, because the heat, the sun, all that is going to like. So as much as we want to change things, there's a cycle that kind of just
You can
is
manipulate
what
it a little bit, and
Yeah.
it's just otherwise, it just is what it is.
Yeah.
So.
I think then also what I've heard you say and what I feel in your book is that there's this opportunity for infusion of working with nature.
Yeah.
Inspires creativity.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of like, I think people right now, what I'm hearing from our CSA members is they're feeling like this this opportunity to be in nature, be in touch with nature is inspiring their creativity and their creative outlets in other areas of their lives, even outside of the garden, outside of the kitchen. But it gets you going, I guess.
Yeah.
Gets your
We need it
creative
because so
juices
much
going.
of us don't have it anymore, you know? Which is probably what you guys offer for so many people, is someone that didn't have a garden or grow up with a garden or have the space for a garden now and can experience that. Like, that's beautiful.
Yeah. The community garden part of it is like,
Yeah.
we'll do all the hard stuff. You just come over and pick and arrange.
Right. Yeah.
Also
yeah.
fun. It's supposed to be fun.
Right. Yes.
Which is what Amanda and I say. This is supposed to be fun. And it is. Well, we really appreciate you.
This has been wonderful.
And we really are grateful for your friendship.
Me
And
too.
we're so proud of you.
Thank you. That's very,
This is an
it's
amazing
very
book.
kind.
It's an amazing feat to write such
Thank
an
you.
amazing cookbook, and we love it.
Thank you
And to
very
have
much.
it capture what the way of you, which is that there is always room at the table. And
thank
so
you.
it's inclusive, and I love it.
It was something I didn't even mean to have it be, and it ended that way in a way that just felt organic, and thank you. That's meaningful that it feels that way for you too.
Yeah.
It's been wonderful being here.
We're going to miss you. See you next summer.
I'll come back.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe we should come see you.
It does feel like we should make
Come on out.
It does feel like we
Come
should,
on out.
do
Let's
the
take
old
a trip
Iowa
west.
pilgrimage.
Pilgrimage. I mean, it would be a pilgrimage. You can't get a direct flight, guys.
That's right. Okay.
Be a quest.
It would quest. That's
Be a
good word.
quest. Yeah.
I mean, it's an important. I have not been. It's an important.
You should.
It's an
Yeah.
important thing.
Tell me when you're there.
Okay.
Yeah.